Now, from WYDC TV, this is Big Fox News at 10.
Good evening. Thanks for choosing Big Fox News. I'm Nick Smith. We begin tonight with an announcement from the Department of Agriculture on a new effort to provide direct payments to low-income families to help provide food to kids over the summer. In tonight's top story, Matt Kleinditz joins us from Corning to break down the details and to tell us how local families may benefit.
Good evening, Nick. The USDA program will feed up to 30 million kids over the summer, and as one local food bank tells me, this program will provide much-needed assistance for Southern-tier families and the local economy. In an effort to address childhood hunger during the summer months, the USDA is offering direct cash payments to low-income families. Families will be paid $375 per child for 10 weeks over the summer.
2.3 million children in New York State will benefit from this program, and that alone is going to bring $874 million in federal spending to our local communities.
Randy Quackenbush says the food bank of the Southern Tier has been advocating for this program to reach underserved children in the region. School districts normally provide summer food service programs to kids, but those programs have their own barriers to access.
Outside of New York City, about 15% of kids who usually eat a free or reduced price meal at school were able to access the summer meal sites.
The summer sites have congregant meal requirements, meaning kids are unable to pick up meals to bring home, and food options are limited.
Kids show up and they'll get handed a bag of food, so if they have various dietary restrictions, allergies, or just taste preferences, there isn't a choice.
Quackenbush says direct payments will allow families to support their nutritional needs while supporting their community.
That allows them to get what they need, helps them stimulate the local economy because that's dollars that they'll be spending directly in grocery stores, and it's just a huge stress release.
Schools will work with the state to ensure eligible families receive benefit cards. Matt Kleinditz, Big Fox, WYDC in Corning.
The CDC announced updated guidelines for wearing masks. Fully vaccinated adults will now be allowed to engage in more outdoor activities without a mask. This includes attending small gatherings with vaccinated and unvaccinated people, as well as dine at an outdoor restaurant with multiple households. The announcement caused mixed reactions from Corning residents.
So yes, I'm all for dropping this, be reasonable. If you're immunocompromised, it's your personal choice, then you should have this mask on.
Well, I'm surprised because we aren't fully herd protected, so I'm kind of against that.
Vaccinated people can also attend crowded outdoor events like concerts and sporting events, but with a mask. Masks are still required for all indoor activities. One person has been arrested in connection with a hit-and-run crash that killed a New York City police officer. Police say Officer Anastasios Sakos was diverting traffic off the Long Island Expressway from a previous crash in Queens when a female driver plowed into him and took off. That driver was later arrested. Investigators say the woman was allegedly intoxicated and driving with a suspended license. She was charged with vehicular manslaughter and several other charges.
And he is dead because someone drove under the influence and recklessly. Someone drove with a suspended license. He's dead because he was at an accident where people had driven recklessly also with a suspended license. We see here a horrendous pattern.
Officer Sakos was a 14-year veteran of the NYPD. He leaves behind his wife, 6-year-old daughter, and a 3-year-old son. Attorneys for the family of Andrew Brown Jr. say it was a fatal shot to the back of Brown's head from police that caused his death. Brown family attorneys revealing the findings from an independent autopsy today. According to the report, Brown was shot 5 times by the police. The shooting happened last week in Elizabeth City, North Carolina. Police say they were executing a search warrant at the time of the shooting when Brown drove away. Family members say he had his hands on the steering wheel when police opened fire. Attorney Benjamin Crump calling the shot to the back of the head a kill shot.
To my pops, man. Yesterday, I said he was executed. This autopsy report showed me that was correct.
Brown's death causing protests in North Carolina and across the country, with groups calling for the release of body camera footage of the shooting. Monday, members of the Brown family say they were shown 20 seconds of that footage. Hundreds of thousands of federal workers are about to get a substantial pay raise. That's because today President Biden signed an executive order raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour for federal contractors. The increase could be dramatic for workers who earn the current minimum of $10.95 an hour. Those workers would receive a 37% pay hike, though the increase would be rolled out gradually. The White House says the higher wages would lead to greater worker productivity, offsetting any additional costs to taxpayers. The White House isn't calling it a crisis, but the surge at the U.S.-Mexico border is intensifying. Casey Stiegel has more from Laredo, Texas.
The situation at the southern border, experts say, is getting worse. Customs and Border Protection reporting a big uptick in human trafficking and drug smuggling. These images show how people and drugs are packed into trains, trucks, and flatbeds any way they can fit. Republican lawmakers putting the blame on the Biden administration, claiming the president is not making enforcement a priority.
You're going to see millions of illegal immigrants and millions of pounds of illegal drugs and gang cartels and terrorists pour into our country. It's not a good outlook.
Meanwhile, legal border traffic is still on hold in many areas due to the COVID-19 outbreak. It's having a big impact on businesses in border towns, and mayors there are pleading with the vice president to visit the area. But the White House says she's looking at a big picture solution.
Her focus is not on the border, it's on addressing the root causes in the Northern Triangle.
The situation remains dire for thousands of migrant children being held currently at detention facilities. Senator Ted Cruz took this video during a recent visit. He claims a humanitarian crisis is developing there, echoing what many migrants are saying as well.
Have compassion. There are children here. Joe Biden was also a child. Let him see that we suffer. He has not suffered, but we have.
On Tuesday, the Biden administration announcing a new enforcement action that would target gangs and cartels caught smuggling migrants into the United States. That's the latest from Laredo, Texas. Casey Stiegel, Fox News.
Hundreds of thousands of federal workers are about to get a substantial pay raise. That's because today President Biden signed an executive order raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour for federal contractors. The increase could be dramatic for workers who earn the current minimum of $10.95 an hour. Those workers would receive a 37% pay hike, though the increase would be rolled out gradually. The White House says the higher wages would lead to greater worker productivity, offsetting any additional costs to taxpayers. You may have noticed an increase in prices at the grocery store lately. And as Ed Laskos reports, experts say this is only the beginning.
Shoppers always looking for a bargain, especially now as grocery prices continue to increase.
Last couple of weeks I see is the eggs, everything is going up, everything. I don't know why. What is the reason?
Ronnie doesn't know why, but he does know it's costing him a lot more to feed his family than just a few weeks ago.
Average, I think, is maybe 25 to 30%, I think so.
Really, that much?
Yeah.
Prices at grocery stores are on the rise up and down the aisle. The U.S. Labor Bureau says a dozen eggs now will cost you $1.63 on average. That's 7% more. And a loaf of bread is up 11%. The feds say one of the reasons is the higher delivery cost. The pain at the pump with those higher gasoline prices now may be bringing pain at the checkout line.
Thank you. I've definitely known gas prices go up. Yeah, they've gone up, I think, consistently for the last 30 days in a row or something like that.
Social media is buzzing about the grocery prices with post after post. Check this one. Samantha tweeting, "Inflation is here. Grocery prices are just going up and up. Couldn't believe the price of chicken and ground beef." And this one, grocery and gas prices are skyrocketed over the past several months.
I think it's a storm that's been coming, to be quite honest with you. You know, we've been dealing with supply demand issues since the beginning of the pandemic.
And it shows no signs of letting up. The supply chain interrupted from the recent bad weather in Texas and the Midwest to the cargo ships that are still anchored offshore at the port of L.A. As their commodities and products wait to be offloaded, the backlog finally hitting us at the grocery stores.
The way that grocery supplies work is they have a 90-day supply at least in warehouses. You know, they try and get ahead of production, right? But once that production, that excess is used up and into the stores, then that's when the new commodity comes up with the new prices.
And as more and more sectors reopen following the lockdown, like restaurants and tourism, the product demand will get even higher, and so could the prices.
They're going up now, so I am not happy for that.
Still ahead tonight, a community and school in Minnesota mourning the loss of a first grader who died as a result of complications to the coronavirus.
I felt immediately heartbroken for the parents and the family.
More on what we know about COVID-19 cases in children and why experts believe they are going up.
Here's your local stock market update from Big Fox. Now, your Twin Tiers forecast from Big Fox.
Tonight's Big Fox forecast is brought to you by William Mattar. Good evening, everyone. I'm meteorologist Kim Walker with your weather update. A major warm up today with temperatures about 23 degrees warmer in Bath and also in Watkins Glen this afternoon, about 19 degrees warmer in Elmira. In Corning, we were about 13 degrees warmer than yesterday. But here's the thing. By tomorrow, there's another low pressure system that will be moving right over toward our area. And as it comes a little bit closer, we're going to continue with the warm air. However, we are going to see chances of rain start to increase, and this low pressure system will land right over our area by Thursday. So the rain chances will start to increase. There could be a few thunderstorms as well, and those winds will also pick up as well. And notice there is a cold front associated with the system, and so that means that we are going to see a little bit cooler air by the end of the week behind this cold front, which is the leading edge of that cooler air. So heading into tomorrow, there is a marginal risk for severe weather for all of our hometowns, or at least in our viewing area. And this means that there could be an isolated thunderstorm that could turn severe, meaning that it could produce damaging wind gusts. So you want to be weather aware, especially Wednesday afternoon into the evening hours and into early Thursday, because there is that risk of severe weather. It's not a major risk, but there could be, again, an isolated thunderstorm that could turn severe. So here's a look at your forecast for tomorrow. Clouds will continue to thicken up. It will be another warm day with temperatures around 82 degrees for our afternoon highs. So it is going to be about 20 degrees above normal. Let's take a look at our future radar. That's why we do have that risk for severe weather, just because the air becomes very buoyant and it causes a lot of instability. So not a lot going on during the day on Wednesday, but moving into the afternoon, there will be a few thunderstorms that will come through, developing to our west, and that will start to shift to the east. And then as we head into your Thursday, we have more chances of rain and just a few isolated thunderstorms that will be marching through. And then we have another system that will come on Friday that could produce a little bit of rain as well. So here's a look at your forecast. Temperatures tonight will only drop down into the 50s as a result of the cloud cover. Highs tomorrow around 82 degrees with thunderstorms in the afternoon into the evening. By Thursday, that cold front comes through. That will result in temperatures that will be nearly 20 degrees cooler, 57 degrees on Friday with some lingering showers, and then drier over the weekend. Another major warm up for early next week with highs back into the 70s.
COVID-19 rarely kills young children, but now a community in southwest Minnesota is mourning the loss of a first grader. A letter to parents at the school said the child died Sunday as a result of complications from the coronavirus. Kate Raditz has more on the virus and what we know about cases in children.
Marshall Public Schools superintendent told WCCO a first-grade girl named Weekday died from complications from COVID. State health officials have reported an increase in cases and hospitalizations of children from the virus.
One, I think, is COVID fatigue. That's always a big issue right now with people letting down their guard. Two is that there's a new variant going around.
The more contagious B.1.1.7 variant is spreading throughout the state. The governor's office said that the child that died did not have underlying health conditions.
I felt immediately heartbroken for the parents and the family.
Cecilia has a daughter in the district. She wonders if students should go back to distance learning until parents have more information on any potential close contacts in the small town school district.
Education, of course, is important, but their lives are more important too. I mean, you don't get them back. You don't get a do-over.
According to the Marshall School District, 22 students and staff are in quarantine at the elementary school. The superintendent said they are following MDH guidelines and no grades are changing from in-person learning at this time. Pediatric pulmonologist for Children's Minnesota Hospital, Dr. Brooke Moore, said that most children who are getting COVID are asymptomatic or have mild to moderate symptoms, but 10% of cases are severe. Governor Tim Walz said Monday, it is simply heartbreaking to hear that COVID-19 has taken the life of someone so young. My thoughts are with the Minnesota family grieving the loss of their beloved child. There is no grief more profound than the loss of family.
Sickness, violence, fear, anger. Over the past year, many Americans have been exposed to all of them, if not directly, then through social media or stories you see. It can all take a toll on your mental health, and there's a name for it: vicarious trauma. Mandy Gaither has more on how to cope when it all feels too much in today's Health Minute.
From the pandemic to mass shootings and racial injustice, if you're feeling overwhelmed, you're not alone.
Even just us regular people just sitting on a couch listening to these stories, are actually having the experience secondary as if they were involved in the trauma.
Cheryl Ziegler, a Denver area therapist, says it's called vicarious trauma and can trigger troubled sleep, increased feelings of depression, heightened anxiety, fears, and anger.
It really is impacting our mental health, but because it didn't happen firsthand, sometimes people aren't connecting that all of this trauma going on around us is actually impacting us to a really significant level.
To cope with all that you're seeing, Ziegler says to identify the source of your feelings and think about your past.
When you have a sense of your own trauma history, you know your vulnerabilities to things that go on around you.
From there, Ziegler says to find ways to reduce stress, like deep breathing. Try to distance yourself from those feelings by exercising and get support from others.
That could be through connecting with others who maybe talk about other things or bring you joy and don't, necessarily bring up these stressors. It could be professional help if you find you're really going through some anxiety or depression.
For many, the past year has been filled with a lot of emotions, so vicarious trauma can be long-lasting, each exposure accumulating inside you. But Ziegler says simply knowing this type of trauma exists, that others experience it too, can help. For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
If you're in the market for a car this year, get ready to pay more. That's because car dealerships are dealing with a shortage of supply and consumers are paying the price. Mandy Gaither has more on what's behind the uptick in sticker prices.
A price boom for cars. Car lots across the country are dealing with limited inventories, and that's forcing many consumers to pay more for those high-demand cars. Car dealerships are reporting they only have a fraction of the vehicles they typically have, both new and used, and that limited supply is sending prices to record levels. In the first quarter of the year, the average new car price was $37,200, and according to industry analysts at J.D. Power, that's up 8.4% from the same period a year ago. J.D. Power says wholesale prices for used cars sold at auction are up 26% since the start of this year. It's a dramatic shift from a year ago when many car dealerships were forced to close due to the pandemic, and a shift to working from home caused a 30% drop in car sales. Now sales are booming. Last month, the seasonally adjusted sales rate for new cars hit the highest level since October 2017. But that demand is coming at a difficult time. A computer chip shortage is shutting down production at auto plants around the world. According to Cox Automotive, new car production in North America is down about 3.4 million vehicles in the first 3 months of 2021. Limited supply and strong sales all causing those historic prices. For Consumer Watch, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Some fast food restaurants are getting more environmentally friendly. Yum Brands, the parent company of restaurants like KFC, Pizza Hut, and Taco Bell, says it will lower its greenhouse gas emissions 46% by 2030. In addition to that, Yum officials say they're focused on achieving net zero emissions by the year 2050. Yum says its climate change strategy will mainly be based on lowering emissions at its more than 50,000 restaurants in its supply chain. The steps being taken include investing in green buildings, accelerating renewable energy, and collaborating with climate-forward partners. GameStop is looking to cash in on $550 million in stock. The video game retailer announced earlier this month it planned to sell as much as 3.5 million shares. GameStop stock surged more than 800% this year. The company says it will use the money to transform to a more online business platform. An emotional story out of North Carolina. After nearly 60 years apart, two brothers were finally able to meet each other. Jackie Pascal was there for the heartfelt moment.
You do it.
Family reunions are especially meaningful after a year in this pandemic. But these brothers have been waiting nearly 60 years for this hug.
Feel at home?
Yes. Yeah. I was born in North Carolina. I'm home.
Martin Hooser was adopted as a baby back in 1962 in Guilford County. Many years later, when he started a search for his biological parents, Hooser says he tried ancestry sites and DNA but got nothing. But a change in North Carolina law finally allowed him access to his dad's death certificate.
That's when I knew my daddy's name was Joseph B. Shaw Sr. And on the bottom it said next to kin, Joseph B. Shaw Jr. And within 15 minutes on Facebook, I found him.
Imagine getting that message on Facebook. Shaw told his fiancee, and they were shocked.
I was like, look, I was like, somebody just messaged me thinking, Mom, we're brothers. And I said, well, she said, well, call him, call.
They've talked on the phone just about every day since, that is, until now.
Oh, I love you so much, buddy.
Hooser and his wife flew from Phoenix, Arizona to make sure they could see Joe and Melissa get married this weekend.
And I can't wait to see them two get hitched.
Before that, they have some catching up to do. Nearly 60 years of life, kids and grandkids, and they are meeting this weekend too.
Not all of our kids are coming, but a lot of them are. And
that would be so cool.
So see them all together and take pictures. And
big family reunion.
Yes.
Both their families finally all together, back in the state where it all started.
We want to leave you with a smile tonight. This is the moment an Illinois bowler gave his late father a posthumous perfect game. John Hinkle Jr. had a friend seal his dad's ashes into his ball. He and his brother celebrated with some tears after he bowled with it earlier this month. Their parents were bowlers, and Hinkle says the brothers almost gave up the sport after their dad died in 2016. Instead, he chose to honor his father by using the ball. Hinkle says he'll retire it after the Tournament of Champions, the last such matchup he played with his father. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. We hope to see you back here tomorrow. Good night.